Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, I am honored to bring you a conversation with Jillian Turecki, the host of the Jillian On Love podcast and author of the book, It Begins With You, The 9 Hard Truths About Love That Will Change Your Life, who is here to tell us what really matters in relationships. To begin, we talk about some good old healing, y'all, and the transformative period known as the dark night of the soul. Jillian shares her experience with this and how even in the hardest of times, there are opportunities for profound growth and self-discovery. Then we take on the topic of emotional availability, and in true Libra fashion, we're going to look at this in multiple ways. From the trap of dating someone's potential to understanding the nuances of readiness versus availability versus capacity, Jillian provides invaluable insights on how we can build relationships with emotionally available partners and why that work ultimately begins with us. Next, we'll hear Jillian's take on situationships and touch on heartbreak, and what Jillian says here you do not want to miss. Finally, we got to talk about flirting, of course. And is Jillian a flirt? Stay tuned for that. So whether you're navigating the dating world, healing from past relationships, or seeking a deeper connection with yourself, this episode is for you. All right, flirties, let's do this and meet Jillian.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, on the show today is certified relationship coach, teacher, author of the new book, It Begins With You, The 9 Hard Truths About Love That Will Change Your Life, and host of the podcast, Jillian On Love. I cannot believe what I'm about to say. Please welcome to the show, Jillian Turecki.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am excited as well. I'm going to get out all my nervous laughter right here at the beginning. This is a real thrill for me and all the flirties listening all over the world. My initial thought was, we can't just tell knock-knock jokes for an hour or so. No, we got to get into it. The topic up for discussion, emotional availability, what it really takes to build a relationship. So many questions came through for this conversation. But up first, I want to learn a little bit more about you and how you got started in this work of relationships.
Yeah. So it started 25 years ago when I discovered yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And I became very curious about the mind-body connection and about how we can fortify our relationship with ourselves through our bodies and through really centralizing and, balancing our nervous system.
Yeah.
And so I discovered yoga, and then I felt compelled to teach it because I had such a profound experience with it.
Uh-huh.
So I taught it for many, many years. And I recognized that when we feel better, when we feel more connected to ourselves, then our relationships get better. And when I would work with couples just teaching yoga, I would notice that their energy towards one another would shift after they did yoga.
Oh,
they were, they were like more loving towards each other, more patient towards each other. So I taught yoga for many years, but I also felt like there was something more for me, but I didn't know what, because back then when I was teaching, there was no social media where you could like teach this stuff online and make money or create something, major. And so I met the man who would become my husband and then my ex-husband. And I went into that relationship thinking that I was wise, only to discover how naive and inexperienced I actually was, shockingly. And so it was a very painful relationship, and it ended horribly. My mother was dying of cancer, and I woke up to a miscarriage, and that was the day he decided to break up with me over a text. So just like your worst nightmare. And so I entered a dark night of the soul, and I became obsessed with understanding what makes a relationship work over the long term. And so that became my mission, to understand that, to get educated in that, and then to start teaching that. Also bringing in my profound knowledge of the human nervous system and the body and the way that the mind works, somatics. And so here we are today.
Here we are today. 2 yoga teachers on Flirtations. I also teach yoga.
Amazing. Amazing. I haven't taught it in a long time, but I practice it all the time, daily. Gosh. So here we are.
It really is phenomenal. And I find so often what maybe the missing piece is in a lot of this work is that connection to the self.
Yeah.
That mind, body, soul connection. And so I want to stay here for just a moment in maybe this space of healing, transformation, this journey, the dark night of the soul. How did your yoga practice support you there? Or how maybe did your relationship with yourself change?
Oh, yeah. Wow. Well, when I first went through it, when you go through like an emotional catastrophe, like you get so exhausted and I could barely move. So it was all about like child's pose and taking long walks with my dog.
Yes.
And then actually when I started to get more of my strength back and started practicing a lot, it was amazing because it's, I focused on a practice that was very grounding rather than, doing things that maybe are more energizing. So I focused very much on, and I went very deep into my practice actually and deep into meditation. And so how did it change my relationship with myself? Profoundly, so I lost my husband and my mother died. So the 2 greatest sources of like certainty and security in my life were gone. Yeah. And so I had to grow up. And I had to learn how to stand on my own 2 feet. And I had to learn how to become much more self-reliant and to build things in myself that I had been avoiding. And so it was it was the ultimate lesson in fortifying my relationship with myself. Yeah. Learning how to meet my needs.
Oh, that's so key. I want to stay here for just a moment before we get into emotional availability, what it takes to build a relationship, because I think this is so important in setting the foundation. I love that you mentioned, just relating it back to yoga, grounding and some of those really simple movements, even stationary movements of stillness. Like that's very much the style I teach, because what I find like in the yoga studio, right, it's unbelievable how much can happen on this tiny mat. Right? Like it's not a lot there. You're not moving on about the room, going all over the place, running. Or
you're barefoot.
Jumping. Yes. How much is happening on in such a finite space, because it's all happening within you.
Yes.
It's all happening within you. And oftentimes, like, it's not necessarily the pose or the shape that you're resisting. Maybe it's the stillness. Yes. Maybe it's being with yourself, with your own mind. And so I know the Flirties have had these experiences in dating relationships and in other aspects of their life where, it's like, I oftentimes say, be with yourself, right? Yeah. Cultivate that connection with yourself. But maybe when that feels so uncomfortable or unsafe or different, how can we support the Flirties to just be with themselves?
Well, I think some words of motivation is, I really truly, it's very difficult to build a healthy relationship with someone if you don't know how to be with yourself. And so if you're finding it difficult, get very curious. Oh, wow. because anything that we are finding difficult, we're going to have resistance to. So we're just notice the resistance. Notice you're wanting to avoid it or to distract yourself from it, and see it as a practice of leaning into discomfort, because that is a big part of relationships.
Leaning into discomfort for sure, especially, oh my gosh, in dating, there's a little uncertainty at times.
A lot of uncertainty.
There's a risk involved, right?
That's part of the excitement, and that's also part of what drives people up bananas. It's a little bit of both, depending on who you are.
It's so true. Yeah. But I love we're starting the conversation in this way, because when you're able to practice curiosity with your own thoughts, feelings, and emotions without attaching, a story, a judgment, a criticism, all of a sudden, maybe if you found yourself attaching very quickly to someone else or chasing someone, you're looking for that validation.
Yes.
Of course, we want reassurance, right? We want someone we're crushing on, we're dating to text us back. Of course. But in those moments when it doesn't go exactly how we want and we start to feel dysregulated, we're all over the place, we're feeling a little chaotic. Yes. Oh my God, being able to be with that experience and know you're going to be just fine and not only get through it, but come out stronger the other side. Yeah. That's what we want.
That's what we want. And to just realize like, oh, I'm making this person so important. It must be because, maybe I've been a little bored and they're providing this novel feeling that I haven't felt in a long time.
Yeah.
But it's really more about me. It's not really about them because I don't know them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially when you're just getting to know someone. Yeah. In the dating process, that's what I feel I really focus on in my work. I say from the flirt to the relationship, that whole process, I'm there for your flirties. Then when you're in the relationship, get Jillian's book, listen to her podcast. She'll help you with the relationship piece. So from your experience, your perspective, what does it really take to build a relationship? What are some of those core things that you just got to have?
You have to see a relationship as a place that you go to give, not just a place that you go to get your needs met.
Okay.
You have to have a sense of self. You don't have to be fully healed. You don't have to feel fully whole, but you have to have a sense of who you are, your needs, what you want, and be willing to stand up for those things.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to improve on their listening skills.
Okay. Yeah. That's a
their
big
listening
one.
skills. Yeah. And then there are going to be things that you are going to be confronted with that are uncomfortable, and you have to be willing to look within and talk about it and take full responsibility, because accountability is the most underrated and yet most important relationship skill out there.
Okay. When it comes to taking accountability, how can we do that without shifting blame to ourselves?
Yeah, because it's not about blame. It's more about, oh, your feelings are hurt. Let me see how I have contributed to that. Something's not, we're in an argument.
Okay.
How am I contributing to whatever's not working right here?
Yeah.
So it's not about blame. It's about seeing yourself as, you are the relationship. The relationship is not some separate entity from you. You and your partner, you are the relationship. So if something's not going well, there's something you need to be doing differently. And that means something different for everyone.
Yeah.
But it does mean that we have to be able to be like, lots of people with low self-esteem will get into a relationship and then blame their partner for not feeling good enough, when feeling not good enough is how they enter the relationship.
Yeah. Are you looking at my journal, Jillian? Are you looking at my past entries talking about my dating life?
Yeah, I mean, seriously, right? And it's just everything, it's just, the blame game doesn't work.
Yeah.
In a relationship. Being able to see our part, no matter what the circumstances are, is really important.
That's so
when I say no matter, it's not about seeing your part if you're being abused. I mean, I think it's not that. But even if you're in an abusive relationship, and I talk about my own experience in an abusive relationship in my book, once you're out of it, you need to figure out yourself, because you were in something where you were not being treated well. And so you're still going to have to take some sort of accountability for your future, so that you're never in something like that again.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense, because you bring everything into the dating process. I love when you said, right, you don't have to be fully healed to date or be in a relationship. I fully believe that as well, because we can use dating in our relationships, a practice of healing too. You can do that relational healing, and I love that can be a part of it.
Absolutely. And you can't, but you have to have some awareness, and you have to be healing, and you have to know what your shit is. Otherwise, you are poisoning the dating pool. Honestly.
Well, Yeah. So that might be a perfect transition into emotional availability.
Yes. It's a big term now.
I mean, so buzzy. I feel like always will be. When I was setting this up, having a few conversations, something daters here, the flirties here all the time, right? Just put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Take a risk, be yourself. But in the process, how might we recognize emotional availability in ourselves and also in those we're looking to date?
So I'm going to be very honest.
Okay.
Most people who are blaming others for being emotionally unavailable have yet to discover their own struggle with emotional unavailability. Mm-hmm. People are very afraid to open up because after a certain age, you had likely a few experiences where you've been hurt. And so our walls go up. Mm-hmm. And so we go into a relationship, and a lot of women do this in particular. They'll go into a dating scenario where I need to make sure I'm 100% safe, then I'll open up. And the thing is, it's not about sharing your whole life story on date one, but we do have to be vulnerable. So one thing that I didn't mention before, to make a relationship work, you have to be emotionally available. And what I mean by that is that you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
It is a miserable relationship for everyone involved when you're not willing to open yourself to the other person. Yeah. And so that is critical and key. And so one thing that we have to work with before we enter a relationship and when we're in the relationship in real time with our partner is to work with our psychological barriers to closeness and put in the work to create closeness with our partner. And this is why it's so important to only commit yourself to someone with whom you feel safe so that you can do that important work.
Mm-hmm. And where do you think daters maybe get tripped up in this process of really allowing themselves to be seen, to be vulnerable? Because I think daters hear that and they maybe go to one extreme or the other. They put it all out there on a first date, or like you were saying, they hold back and wait to bring that vulnerability into the dating process. So they're very judgy because the walls are up. Yeah.
Or they're so one thing that I always tell people is if you want to increase your chances of meeting that person and you're dating, write down all your beliefs about love and relationships. And if you date men, write down your beliefs about men. If you date women, write down your beliefs about women. Okay. And see how many, and get really honest with yourself. How much is it all men suck or all women suck or love is this or that? Yeah. You have to recognize that the more you believe that, the more you are going to have a lot of barriers to vulnerability and closeness. And so that's something, and this is something I discuss in the book, that's something that you have to kind of work with. It's a conundrum that many people share. Let's just say dating men. It's a conundrum because I work with a lot of heterosexual men too, but I work with a lot of people who date men, right? Okay. And so the conundrum is, I'm attracted to men. Yeah. I want to sleep with them. I love that's who I want to be with. But I secretly hate them, or I secretly don't trust them, or I'm secretly afraid of them. Yeah. And that's something that you have to really come to terms with and heal and figure out. And then you're going to have a much better experience dating. Yeah. And the thing is, there's always going to be schmucks out there. There's always going to be people you date who are going to reinforce your belief that all men are like this or all women are like that. Yeah. Remember that there's actually great people out there, but you can't, just because you're attracted to someone doesn't mean you should pursue a relationship with them. Right. You have to look for someone with good character.
Absolutely. I'm dating the men's too. It's not. Yeah. It's not easy. I'd say, across the board. Back to emotional.
Also because you're in a different dating pool than the heterosexual woman. Definitely. Right? Mm-hmm. It's different. And and every pool has its own kind of has its own problems. It does. Its own temperature. There's maybe a wave. It's a wave pool. I don't know. Yeah. And then also there's age and all of that and generation. There's a lot of things. Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of variables that come into play.
Yeah.
I think I want to come back for a moment. So you're talking about developing maybe this list of what does love look like to you? How would you define it? How does it feel? And then tying that back to this practice of self-awareness a little bit, doing some of that healing within ourselves to become more emotionally available, strengthening that connection with ourselves. How can we maybe take some accountability, recognize our role in past relationships, and have our list still be more or less affirming, right? Positive.
Yeah, I think because sometimes you just have to say, if let's say your belief is, well, no man can be trusted. It's like, is that really true? Or is it possible that you chose, like you got involved in men who were not trustworthy, but you kept on trying to make it work with them?
Right.
Is it true? Like, aren't there any good, there must be good men that even if they're not ones that you want to date.
Yeah.
So you have to be really, really, it's about bringing mindfulness to the dating world so that your thinking is not so binary and not so constricted by old stories that you have, that if you were to be more mindful and self-aware, you could look at some of those stories and be like, maybe that wasn't just that. Maybe there was actually, I was part of that dynamic too, or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's really good. And you can also learn about what you don't want too.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Dating is exploration.
Absolutely.
You're learning what you don't want, what you do want. You have to be patient. You have to be open-minded, and you have to recognize that it's likely going to take you longer than what you are comfortable with to find someone who you want to be in a relationship with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to stay here because I want to untangle emotional availability a little bit. I think this is something that maybe confuses daters. It's confused me, or maybe there's just like where I'm going with this is, let's say you are starting to date someone, you're talking with someone and they are texting you all the time. You might interpret that as, oh, they're really available.
Or they're really into me.
Or they're really into me. What do you think, Jillian?
Well, I mean, look, it could mean that they're very interested.
Yeah.
It could also mean that they're bored. It could also mean that they're trying to get laid.
Yeah.
It can mean a lot of different things. You're not going to know until you actually spend some quality time with this person to see if there's a real connection.
Okay.
But you can't put so much stock in the text.
Right.
Then again, if you're dating someone and they're not texting you at all, then maybe they're just not interested at all, right?
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people, what happens is that we get enthusiastic about someone, but we don't know how to process that enthusiasm.
Yes.
So we get a little ahead of ourselves.
Yes. Okay.
And we get a little crazy.
Yeah.
And so my message is just process your enthusiasm. Don't be going crazy with the texting. I mean, I know this is also generational, but I think the younger generations need to, stop texting so much because have a life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're like, you should be too busy doing other things to be constantly texting someone.
Yeah.
And recognize that the texting can very easily give you a false sense of intimacy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that is so true. I've definitely fallen for that before, where you just get so excited, or even you're on a dating app and now you're texting a bunch.
It's
on social media.
dopamine, constant. Yeah.
It really is. And it becomes about that chase for the dopamine high more so than
anything else.
Connection itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Well said.
When you don't get the text back right, or something happens, they leave you on red, then all of a sudden you're like
freaking out.
Yeah,
and everyone needs to have much more important things happening in their life that they're just like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
Or I don't like whatever,
Yeah. Coming back to that place of curiosity, right? It's not about chasing the feeling or trying to control or get someone to do something you want them to do. It's more so, what do I think about this? How do I feel? Does this work for me?
Yes.
Do I like this?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we can build some of that self-awareness and mindfulness. Okay. I want to ask you this question, because this, I feel, trips up daters a little bit too, where they might be seeing someone, talking to someone, dating someone who is they perceive as emotionally available or present in some areas of their life, maybe with their friends, their education, their career, their family, right? But then in a romantic connection, in dating, it's like, where's that person that's so amazing, maybe at, let's say, in their career?
First of all, I think we need to differentiate something.
Okay.
There's a difference between someone being emotionally unavailable and then in the dating process, in a relationship, versus someone who's actually not that interested in you.
Okay.
And sometimes we say, oh, they're not investing in me. They're emotionally unavailable. No, they don't actually like you that much.
Okay.
Maybe they're attracted to you.
Yeah.
Maybe you're an option for them. You're a distraction for them, but they don't actually they don't really feel that connected to you.
Okay.
So we can't just slap that label of emotional unavailability in dating. It could just be that this person doesn't share the same feelings as you do. And I think that if we're honest with ourselves, we have to say, like, do I even like this person, or am I so consumed with getting them to like me back?
Yeah. Okay.
Emotional availability in a relationship is, someone has psychological barriers to being open, right? But it's so incredibly nuanced. It's like, are they emotionally unavailable because of them? Or are they emotionally unavailable because there's something going on in your relationship or your marriage? Are they emotionally unavailable because they are feeling overwhelmed? There's context.
Yeah.
But generally, like, you can kind of tell if you're dating someone and they just don't, it's not that they don't like you, but they struggle to open up, or everything is sort of kept at a surface level.
Yeah.
Or the telltale sign is you're not progressing.
Yeah. Okay.
You're not progressing. Things aren't getting deeper. You're not getting to know them on a deeper level, and they're not getting to know you on a deeper level.
Right. Yeah.
And
you kind of reach that plateau of,
and it's not progressing.
Right. It may not happen this is why it's so important to actually go on dates and spend time with someone if you're looking for that relationship, because if all you're doing is texting or snapping or something like that, you may not notice the plateau, or that you don't even have that deeper connection. With one another.
And you can't discover if you have a connection with someone if you're dating multiple people at once.
Whoop. Okay. That's true too. This is really, really helpful even for me as a dater, because where I was going with that question a little bit is, I think oftentimes we date potential, right?
Yes.
We date who we think someone could be, who we want them to be. We see the best in them, or we see them excelling, being so present in other areas of their life. And then when it gets down to what's happening in our relationship and our connection, right? This is maybe when we're chasing, when we're sacrificing our own needs. Yeah.
Yeah. This becomes very pathological when you are dating someone who's an addict and not sober, for example, and you see the best in them, or you're dating someone who has no ambition in their life. Yeah. And you see the best, and you're someone who always sees the best in people. Yeah. And even when they're being mean to you and abusing you, you still see the best. Yeah. That's when it becomes a pathological situation.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's when people are like, but I just know his heart, or I know her heart. And it's like, you're not seeing the person before you. You're not seeing this. And by being in a relationship with them, it means you have to be totally sacrificial. Never works.
Yeah. Absolutely not. Talking about what you mentioned a moment ago, still having you got to have your own things, right? Your own life. You got to have your own
and you have to have your needs met inside the relationship.
Yes. All right. I want to ask you now, because in true Libra fashion, we're going to look at emotional availability in every which way we can on the show today.
Yes, let's do it.
Because I also see this happening with daters and with the flirties, where I feel like, because I have this acronym I've worked with called the emotional CAR, and it stands for capacity and availability and readiness. And I think you've got to have all those components in place. It's like, how much can someone consider your needs how much emotional capacity do they have to actually be present for the relationship? And sometimes those two are present, and then we get to the readiness piece and it's like, oh, I'm not ready for a relationship.
Right.
Do you, staying with that for a moment, is it possible that someone could be, right, emotionally available, all green flags, and then all of a sudden you get that rug pulled out from under you?
I think there's always signs.
Yeah.
I think there's always signs. Like if they're not ready for a relationship, it's like maybe they're an amazing person and they're right for you in so many ways, but they're going through a divorce or they're going through some sort of crisis and it's and it's very difficult. I think there's always signs.
Yeah, I agree. What are some of those signs that may present themselves in early dating that someone isn't ready
for a relationship?
Yeah.
Versus not wanting to be in a relationship with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not, what does it take to be in a relationship? It takes accountability. It takes patience. It takes attention. It takes commitment. It takes compassion. It takes communication. It takes kindness. So these are the things.
Okay.
If someone is not able to do that with you, if they are, because they may want a relationship, but they don't have the capacity at this time to be in a relationship because they have no idea how to communicate and they have no desire to actually become a better communicator.
Right.
Undateable. Yeah.
That's hashtag undateable. You are not wrong about that.
Yeah.
I want to, stay here for just a moment more and talk about consideration in the dating process. This is something that I really feel like I've learned from you and your work. And I feel like it was the missing piece for the longest time in my own dating life. Consideration comes into not just our dates, our actions, our behaviors, but also our communication. So what does it mean to witness consideration in dating?
I think it's to not ghost and just consider other people's feelings. Is that what you mean? Just I think it's just like, oh, I had a couple of dates. I'm not feeling it. I could justify never speaking to the person again or responding to their text because, it was only 2 dates. I don't owe them anything. Right. Yeah. You don't owe them anything. But if you look at it through the lens of humanity, you could say, might just be a nice thing to do not only for them, but also for me. I'm going to feel better about myself just being considerate. And just throwing them a text and being like, it was really lovely to meet you. I just want to be honest. I don't feel a romantic connection, but I wish the best of luck to you. Right.
I feel like it's consideration that's maybe the biggest missing piece from dating.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. And that's why, there are people who I meet or who DM me and say, this person ghosted me, but they came back around. Should I give them another chance? It's like, absolutely not.
Right.
Unless they ghosted you because there was a catastrophe that happened in their life, something major. Yeah. But, chances are it's just because, they did it and they're coming back around because they're bored. Why would you give someone like that another chance? They've proven to you who they are and their maturity level. So it's just not, it's not something I would give a second chance to.
Yeah. Same. It's taken me a while to get there, as I would always go back to the ghoster because sometimes they're so cute.
I hear
you. But ultimately, you got to think about like from yoga, where intention goes, energy flows. And so if you are putting your intention, your energy into someone who has ghosted you previously, it's like once a ghoster, always a ghoster. I'm not sure, but with you, probably. If they've ghosted you once, They'll 9 times out of 10, let me tell you from experience, they're going to ghost you again.
And then look, and it's like, are they really that damn cute? Or do we get to a point where it's like, it's such a turnoff?
Right. Yes. You got to start getting turned off by these behaviors.
Kind of behaviors. Yeah.
When someone isn't able to be considerate in the dating process, that is ultimately the biggest emotional availability green flag I'm looking for.
Yes.
It's just like, if I, have a day where maybe I'm really stressed or really busy, can I present this to you? Can I be vulnerable? Hey, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't get back to you. Or, this day you wouldn't believe XYZ thing happened. Do they even care?
Yes,
right?
because, the busiest person in the world, when they care, they will be considerate and they will communicate.
Yeah,
If they don't care, they won't.
exactly.
So you don't have to psychoanalyze them.
Yeah.
You don't have to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah. Okay. I have two more questions for you. I think that was a perfect transition into this next one. I loved this video that you posted somewhat recently talking about the state of dating and one of the biggest sort of trends, maybe problems you see, and that is this playing house with people concept.
Playing house with a stranger.
Yes. Yeah. Could you share a little bit about that?
So we meet someone, this is all about the processing the enthusiasm. We meet someone, we're really excited about them. And then we're like, we barely know them. Next thing you know, we're spending weekends together. We're going to the farmer's market together. We're doing all this stuff and we're strangers. And then there are some people who will conveniently do that, but they're not actually interested in actually being committed to you. So it's very important to not play house with the stranger. It's time. Take the time to get to know someone. Don't skip over that.
Yeah.
And that's part of just being more mature.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes with maturity and just some experience. It's like, why rush the dating process? I know sometimes we want to get to that.
We want to lock down the deal.
Yes.
We want to be in the relationship. Yeah. And that's like people are like acting like they're in a relationship, but they don't even know each other. So it's this very weird situation where you're like doing all these things together, but you've had no important conversations. You don't, you skipped over a very important part of the process.
And you only get to date your person, right? If it transitions into a relationship.
You'll never get that time back.
Exactly. Enjoy the dating. Have fun.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Final question. I would be remiss if I did not ask you about heartbreak, rejection, because that is going to be a part of the dating process. Probably. I'll just offer. It's like I oftentimes say to the flirties, it's like you have gotten yourself this far, even in the space of pain, of heartbreak, of loss, grief, whatever. You will get yourself through it. You've always figured it out. But when we're in it, and it's really uncomfortable to be with ourselves, I feel like all of that goes out the window. So for the flirty that is maybe in that space today, what are some things they could do to just maybe soften this experience?
So if you're feeling heartbroken over someone who you've only been dating, from a week to 6 months, like I know that can be intense, but recognize that like you probably dodged a bullet. You're romanticizing them. This is just a part of life. Heartbreak is a part of life. Obviously, if you're breaking up and it's much more involved, it's one of the most difficult human experiences. Yeah. It truly is one of the hardest things. It's like you go through a withdrawal. And what I would say is this too shall pass. You have to question your thoughts, your mind. When we go through heartbreak, our mind is a total battlefield. It is trying to regain certainty when one feels totally out of control. And so in our pursuit of control and our pursuit of having more certainty, regaining more certainty, we will go on a wild goose hunt in our minds trying to figure everything out. Yeah. You need to really question your thoughts. Yeah. You need to spend time with people who know you and love you so that they can be the mirrors that reflect back to you your wholeness and your lovability.
I love that perspective. I think that's something, new I'm hearing today is allow those people that are in your life to be that mirror, right? To show you, you look at all of these great qualities you have. This is why I love you. This is why I care about you.
Yes. Yeah. And then we see ourselves through their eyes.
Oh, Jillian, I love that. Okay, this has been so wonderful. Before we conclude, though, I'm going to squeeze in one more. What do you think about flirting, Jillian?
I think I love flirting, and I also think it's a skill that not everyone has but should learn, because you can be an amazing person and super good looking.
Yeah.
And like you could be a catch, but if you don't know how to flirt, you're not getting any game. Like no one is interested.
Yes.
So flirting is very important. And flirting is also very important throughout the course of a relationship.
Yes.
And if you don't know how to flirt, you should take some flirtation. There must be some courses out there on how to flirt. Yeah.
Me.
Okay. Yeah. You.
The flirt coach. That's why I exist.
Yes. Okay. There you go. They need to work with you. Flirting is so incredibly important because, and it's just, I don't know. It's hard because flirting comes is very easy for, like, I know how to flirt.
Okay.
And so if I'm like, if there's no flirting coming from me, then you know, like, I am not into you.
Yeah.
But like, and flirting is, sometimes it's in telling the joke, sometimes it's, I always know, like, when a guy's flirting with me, like, sometimes he'll like make fun of me, but in the most flirtatious way. So there's a way of making fun of me in a way that's demeaning. And then there's a way flirt where it's very playful.
Yes.
And to be able to laugh. And then, flirting is also just like, it's the smile with the eye contact with like the gentle touch on the shoulder without going too far. It's all of that. And so learning how to flirt is very important.
I love that. I think that's why some of the flirties are here that are in relationships. They want to flirt with their person, or maybe they just like my mustache. I don't know. But this is how I really got all of the above. All of the above, Jillian. Yeah, this is really how I got my start talking about flirting. I talk about it as the art, the style, the practice of connection with others, with the self. I bring all my yoga stuff into it. It's the authentic expression of interest in the present moment. We let go of those expectations. It's really just about giving, sharing, receiving energy and attention.
Yes.
A playful flirt, a wink, a nod, a smile, a wave, hello. Yes.
It's so, yeah. And I do think humor and laughter and smiles are a huge part of it.
Yes.
Flirting is never like usually this like intense sex driven thing. It's much lighter than that.
Yes. Yes,
Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, I so agree. It's that.
You can flirt with people who you're not even attracted to.
Oh, I mean, you 100%. Could just, yeah. And I say to the flirties, please do. Why would you limit a flirt to only the person that you find physically attractive?
Everyone feels good around a flirty person.
Oh my gosh. Is that why? Why people smile at me sometimes?
Yeah, they feel good. You can get them out of their shell. They feel good. It's
absolutely.
It's light and happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's really like one thing I find is because, we're all so more or less disconnected, right? We go about our lives with our head down and our phones, headphones in kind of thing. And like when I'm working on shifts at Trader Joe's, it's like sometimes that might be the first in-person conversation someone is having all day or in a few days. The first time they've left the house, they're working from home. It's just about witnessing somebody, seeing somebody, saying hello, sharing some energy. Ultimately, that's what it's about. And if they leave with a smile on their face, a little bit of lightness in their eyes, success.
100%. I'm with you on that.
Jillian, this has been absolutely phenomenal. I want to send the flirties your way to your socials to get the book. The podcast is there. I'll have all of it linked in the show notes below. But where can they find you?
Thank you so much for having me. So you just need to know my first and last name all over Instagram, social media, my website where you can find my book my book, It Begins With You, is wherever books are sold. Okay. And then my podcast, Jillian On Love.
Phenomenal. I will have all those links here. I will send the flirties your way, and I will continue to be a fan, admirer, and follow and just take in all of your wisdom. Jillian, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
All right, flirties, that's a wrap on this episode of Flirtations with Jillian Turecki, the episode on emotional availability and what really matters in relationships. Thank you so much to Jillian for being on the show today. Another pinch me moment here at Flirt Headquarters. I can barely contain myself. This was so cool. You might already be following Jillian and listening to her podcast and even have her book. And if you don't, why? Please do all of the above. The links for all of that will be in the show notes below for this episode. A wealth of information on the socials, the book, the podcast. There's a Substack, the email list. Just do it. do it. Thank you, Jillian, for being on the show today. Okay, the Flirties, that's you. That's you. Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, for streaming, wherever you are in the world. I could not do this without you. I hope you enjoyed this conversation just as much as I enjoyed recording it. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, please rate, review, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. 5 stars. Yes. It's my lucky number. 5 is. If you have, thank you so much. And then to share BFE, Big Flirt Energy, and spread this flirt mission as far and wide as we possibly can, please share this episode or another favorite episode with a friend, a family member, a coworker, a neighbor, someone you even mildly like. I'd appreciate it. Yes, I think that's everything. Signing off officially here from Flirt Headquarters, my name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach and Gay Libra Flirty. Happy flirting.